Let's talk about Invincible Season 3. So we've got 4 episodes to talk about today.
4. Oh, wow.
Episode 4, 5, 6, and 7.
We'll probably talk more with the last 2 episodes than the first 2 episodes.
I do have individual scores.
I do too, yeah.
So we'll give our scores, we'll give our thoughts without spoilers, and then give a spoiler warning before we go into it. But yeah, I'll go ahead and give my scores first on this one. So episode 4, it was a really good episode. I feel like they covered so much in just this one episode, and it had really good animation, really good pacing. This is one of those where they split it up kind of half and half, and the second half was my favorite part, but both halves were really good. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Thought it was really good. Episode 5, I thought was probably the weakest of the season. I didn't get much out of the villain. It wasn't necessarily a bad episode and had some interesting ideas, but it just didn't really resonate with me as much as some of the other episodes. So I gave that one a 6. Episode 6, I thought was a pretty decent episode. It was emotional, funny. The villain was pretty tragic and the action was good, but there were just a couple of things that held this back, particularly around the villain. We'll talk a little bit more about it in spoilers. It just felt a little bit weird to me, but overall, I still think the episode was decent. I gave that one a 7. And then episode 7, man, what an amazing episode 7 was. I loved it. There were so many awesome scenes. The tone was perfect for what was going on in the show. I think this was probably the best animation in the show that I can remember. It was such a crazy roller coaster ride. Steven Yeun was amazing in this episode.
Yeah.
His voice acting was incredible. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite episode of the season so far. I'm really split between a 9 or a 10, and there's one reason that I'm like hesitant to give it a 10. We'll talk about it in spoilers, and I may change my mind. I'm gonna stick with a 9 for now and possibly update it to a 10. We'll see, but yeah, I'll give it a 9. I thought it was a great episode.
Okay. I think we're similar. I would give episode 4 an 8. I really liked episode 4. I liked both halves, but I agree the second half was great and the action was great. It's just interesting. I really liked that episode. So I gave that an 8. I agree with episode 5. I would give episode 5... I give episode 5 maybe a 6 or a 7. I'll give it a 6 because I do think it was the weakest of the season. Still fun watch. Sure, yeah. But it's kind of sandwiched in between great episodes. So I'd give this one a 6. Episode 6, I actually think I liked more than you. I gave this one a 9.
Oh, wow.
I thought this was a great episode, and I loved the concept of the episode. I do think there's a couple issues, which is why I wouldn't give it higher. I mean, I could even say an 8, but I gave it a 9 just because I just find the idea of this really interesting, and I love when superhero shows explore this side of it.
Okay, yeah.
So I give that a 9. Emotional episode, interesting and good. Yeah. And then episode 7, I agree with you. I think this episode was awesome. Believe it or not, I actually don't think I loved it as much as you did. But I would still give it a 9.
Okay. Yeah.
But I just have worries, and this could change after the next episode. But I have worries, as with anything with, I'm not going to say anything in the spoilers, but I give it a 9. I think it did have the best animation. Steven, his voicing in this was great. Action, great. I just have some worries.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it a 9 with the possibility of me changing it to 10 depending how the finale is.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, those so pretty similar. I think I like some of the other episodes a little more than you.
And we'll talk about it. Like episode 6 I think is our biggest difference, so we'll probably talk a little bit about that. And I definitely want to talk more about episode 7, so.
Yeah, for sure. But overall, it's still been a great season.
Yeah, I agree.
It really has.
I've been really enjoying
Consistent.
Yes. All right, well, let's get into spoilers for Invincible Season 3, Episodes 4 through 7. Let's talk about, should we start with 4 and go through them? Or
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, so Episode 4, I actually really like when they do those split episodes where like the first half is with Mark and then the second half is somewhere else.
Yeah.
They had 1 or 2 of them in Season 2, maybe just 1, but I end up liking those a lot. The first half I thought was really good with the immortal stuff. And were you able to guess that it was immortal? Because I was able. I figured out that it was immortal. Yeah, it was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like, who else could it be, really? But I thought that fight between Mark and Future Immortal was really good. Pretty good animation. After seeing episode 7, like nothing beats that, but it's still, the animation was good. I feel like it kind of deepens what Mark is dealing with, like having to kill him and him fighting with himself on all that. But man, that second half with Alan
that second half was
and
good.
Nolan. I love Alan, and his relationship with Nolan is so interesting.
I don't know, who would have thought that would have been a relationship we like.
I know.
Probably one of my favorite relationships.
Yeah. And then seeing Battle Beast was cool too.
Yeah. What line of crack? Could Battle Beast breathe in space? Like,
yeah, it seems like it. Yep.
But I thought the action was good in that.
Yep.
And yeah, just the relationship. And Alan's just hilarious.
Yeah, him letting himself get just destroyed so that Nolan had a reason to fight was great. And then those two teaming up against a Viltrumite was so cool. That ending.
Yeah, that was fun to watch. Yeah.
Oh, that double punch. Oof.
Yeah.
I was not expecting it, but it was really cool.
Yeah, that right there. And you kind of get the reveal that there's only, 50 or so Viltrumites left.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You kind of get a little more lore. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. Yeah, I really enjoyed that second half too, more than the first half.
Yeah, it was really good.
So good. Such an interesting episode. And you're right, it almost feels like 2 episodes in one.
Yeah, it does.
Because it was still what, like 20-minute, 25-minute like sections.
Yeah.
That was good. So yeah, that was a good episode. Kind of furthered their relationship, and also, like you said with Mark, I feel like this season is a lot about Mark learning how to deal with tragedies and also knowing when to be like self-righteous and not be self-righteous kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this season more so than other seasons. Like we talked about, he's young, right? He always thinks he's right, but he's kind of figuring out. And his brother's there to kind of, I feel like his brother anchors him a little bit whenever he's around.
Yeah, I agree. He's like striving to be a good role model and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously his brother, he's scared his brother will turn out like his dad because he's always just like, kill him, oh, screw you guys.
Yeah.
Mark's like, dude. Yeah, so I find that interesting, which we'll get on more in episode 7, obviously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To be honest, episode 5, I feel like there's not much to talk about.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that I liked was the idea of Mark like teaming up with Eve to create that company was interesting. I thought that was a good idea, and seeing them fight together was cool.
That was cool, having them like when she shielded herself and he used her as like a mace thing, like whip thing was cool.
That was cool.
Their fighting together is cool.
And then the multi-pole escape was freaking brutal. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was brutal. What? I was watching this, I'm like, oh my god. That
was his first idea to get out. That was crazy.
I was like, God, only this show would think of something like that.
Yeah. The weaker part was obviously the villain, and then they like Titan outmaneuvering the villain was good, but Machine Head kills him. And then the guy just comes back and we just see it like 5 minutes later. It just kind of made the stakes feel lower in this episode.
Yeah, I agree.
He was just like a giant dragon, which I guess is cool, but it didn't really do that much for me.
Yeah, this whole like underground crime thing, it's kind of interesting, but out of like all the storylines, it's kind of like the lizard dude. It's like it's kind of like the least interesting side story, in my opinion, for this season at least.
I agree.
Yeah, there's really not much. I guess Mark technically would have lost. It looked like he was going to lose if what's-his-face didn't
Machine Head
shoot the... Yeah, so... But yeah, it's still entertaining. It wasn't a bad episode, I didn't think.
Yeah, it just wasn't one of the, like, big episodes.
No. And I think, a sandwich between... Honestly, this whole season's been pretty good. So
yeah, I agree.
It was just the weakest one of the whole season, but that's not, like, the weakest one is still good.
Yeah, out of a good season, not bad.
Like, I would still put it above, season 2. Well, like, the middling episodes of season 2, I'd put this middling episode better.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so episode 6 seemed to kind of where we differ the most. I want to hear what your kind of little minor problems were with it.
Yeah, I just think Powerplex as a villain is kind of strange to me. Mm-hmm. He blames Invincible, but then, at the end, he ends up killing his wife and child. And then instead of like seeing, when you're this strong, you need to be careful with your powers, or, like he could have learned something from that, but then instead he just goes, it's Invincible's fault. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, and his wife seemed really unhinged too. Like, I feel like she was the reason he went so far off the deep end. That was weird.
She was egging him on.
Yeah.
I feel like if his wife wasn't egging him on, he wouldn't be this kind of crazy about it.
Yeah, and like they have a little kid. I don't know. I did enjoy seeing Chicago, the incident where Omni-Man and Invincible were fighting from like the ground floor. I love when they do that. You see it from just like a regular person's perspective. That was really cool. Yeah. And his powers were interesting. I like the idea of like if you get hit, you just get stronger. That's kind of cool. But overall, I mean, I didn't really connect with Powerplex as a villain. I didn't think he was that strong or interesting.
Yeah, I can see that. I think for me, I like the way it's filmed, like you said. I like kind of seeing it from the ground level. And I like seeing an everyday man, like how that fight affected the everyday person.
I do like that idea.
I get what you're saying as far as him blaming Invincible, but for me, how I saw it is he just has so much pain he doesn't want to deal with. It's easier to blame, someone than to take responsibility. And I don't know, maybe it's me being a parent or something, but like maybe that's why this episode hit more because he burned his wife and kid. Like that would make anyone go crazy.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So maybe it just hit me because I couldn't imagine doing that to my kids. I would die.
Yeah.
But I just liked the concept of just like the everyday man, kind of like he was a good dude. He had his sister and his niece go up in the building and boom, like that concept of it, and then him kind of going crazy and like just a normal good dude kind of just go crazy. And I get what you're saying because it did get a little annoying. It's Invincible, like dude, take a little responsibility.
Yeah.
But like I guess I just rationalized that like homeboy just burned his wife and kid. It's probably just easier for him to shut everything away and blame someone else.
Yeah, that makes sense.
His powers as a villain, I agree with you. He didn't necessarily seem intimidating personally.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the idea of having, because he even shows up in the next episode. Mm-hmm. I feel like he's kind of like, I don't want to say like an arch enemy of Invincible, but I feel like he's going to be
recurring.
Yeah, that recurring enemy for Invincible, for Mark, that is probably going to be the most painful villain to face every single time because of the circumstances.
I just don't know where they go from here. I feel like there's no room for growth for this guy or change. It seems like he's shown that he can't.
That he's, no matter what, he's going to blame Mark.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. So like I could see why. Would you give it a 7 or an 8?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, and I gave it a 9. So like I could see a middling ground for me being an 8.
Sure.
It was a tragic episode. I liked the way it was filmed. I liked the idea behind it.
Also, I think it had the best title card sequence of this season for sure.
Yes.
Shapesmith really was great, and them like having it pop up a bunch of times was funny. That whole scene I liked a lot.
Yeah, so that's exactly. All those reasons are kind of why I gave it a 9.
I could see that.
Like I said, I could see a middling ground at 8, like you 7, me a 9, it kind of evening out to an 8. Yeah. I could see that. But yeah, I definitely thought it was better than episode 5.
Yeah, definitely.
Just in an emotional way and the way it was filmed. It felt different, and maybe that's why I liked it too, because I like the episodes where it kind of feels a little different, just seeing it from a different view, like you said.
Also, it set up the next one. Like that ending scene got me so pumped for episode 7, seeing all the different marks.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we could talk about episode, was it 7?
7, yep.
So you gave it a 9. I gave it a 9 too, but I feel like I'm a little more hesitant than you are on this episode. So
tell me why you're hesitant.
I agree with everything you said.
Okay.
As an episode alone, definitely this might be the best episode. This was definitely better than the what do you call them, the penultimate episodes or whatever. What do you call them?
Penultimate.
Yeah, it was definitely better in season 2's episode like that. I think it was great. So this is me with just multiverse things in general. My worry is I hope none of this gets undone. Like I hope they're not going to use like some sort of scapegoat,
I kind of thought about that too, yeah.
Because, like Rex dying, allegedly, we technically didn't see it, but...
He's dead, dude. He's dead.
yeah, I know. But that's what I mean. Like that, like there was so much that happened in this episode, and I loved the idea. My favorite thing of the episode is what Angstrom said, like, we ruined him, because whenever people hear the name Invincible, they're going to be terrified. Like no matter, even if he's alive, right? Like he ruined the name.
Yeah, anytime they think of Invincible, they're going to think about this destruction.
Yes, so I love that. I just worry there's going to be something where Rex comes back and all this is undone through a different thing, or I don't know. Maybe it's me just being skeptical. Also, I don't know. I watched it last night and I was a little tired, so maybe I need to rewatch it again. But as interesting as I found it, I still didn't find it emotionally as interesting as some of the other fights, if that makes sense. Like as far as like Mark fighting obviously his dad.
Sure.
So like, I mean, it was emotional in the sense, I mean, you're watching Rex die. I don't know how to explain it. I wasn't as emotionally invested as I would have been, like, but I mean, I'm comparing it to the best of the best in season 1.
And like
right?
one-on-one is different than, because they're fighting like 18 different marks. Yeah,
but so I guess I'm just hesitant on where it leads. Also, I liked the different marks, but I just, like I said, I wasn't personally I wasn't emotionally invested as much.
Okay.
But yeah, but still 9. I mean, I'm still giving it a freaking 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious what you think.
I agree with what you said. Like the repercussions of this episode, if they don't go back on it and change it somehow with some multiverse thing, like the repercussions seem huge.
I mean, show changing, like.
Yeah, show changing. Yeah. It made it feel like the end of the world with it going from like day to day and seeing all the destruction. And the one thing that I think holds it back from a 10 for me is there were some things where it like cut to it right after the action finished, and it would have been cool to see some of that, like Cecil and Donald's fight. It just like cut when they were done and the Reanimen were killing the one Mark, and that happened a few times, but they still had a lot of good fights in here. And Mark and Eve, when Eve got injured and then Mark's trying to figure out,
that was brutal.
Yeah, that was rough. And then Mark has to deal with like, do I stay here and protect her? Do I go out and help? Like there's still those moral quandaries that the show loves doing. So I thought that was good.
I was emotionally invested in that, I will say. I like that you have to decide, right? Like kind of love your life type girl or like saving the world pretty much.
Yep.
It felt very Spider-Man-y.
It did, yeah. And I thought it kind of evolved Mark and Cecil's relationship a little bit. Like it repaired that a little bit. And obviously Mark's still pissed off at him, but at the end he did say thanks for being there for him to talk if he needs it. And
Cecil kind of asking him to be the leader of the Guardians. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
He's like, you're the one, you said no to me, like no one else would. Like we can keep each other in check, kind of thing. Like
I like that he's willing to
give
him
it too.
that spot.
I like that too. I really liked that line. Is like, why do you want me to do it? You said no to me. I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then obviously the Rex, that was so sad.
My boy Rex, dude.
I love Rex.
I will say that I was emotionally invested in that.
Yeah. And man, the way he went out was so cool.
Dude, I love Rex. Is he really dead?
Yeah.
That was sad.
Yeah. Right when he was becoming happy, of course, after a major character shift of him being a good dude and finding someone, they have to kill him off.
Yeah. And then of course, like Immortal obviously lived because you just have to keep his body parts close, right?
Yep.
And then Kate freaking just always, every time Kate dies, I'm just gonna know like if she's
she has an extra one somewhere. Yep. I did think the Guardians of the Globe fight was pretty cool because it looked a lot like the fight from season 1 where Omni-Man killed them all. So that had some cool parallels.
That's right. Yeah. There was a lot of death this episode.
Yeah, there was. Like Darkwing's dead.
Yeah, Rex. The stretchy dude, I guess he's...
Yeah, Shapesmith's alive, thank goodness. It looked like he was dead for a second.
And obviously Immortal, is immortal.
Yep. One thing, did you watch this with subtitles?
I did.
Did you notice some of the names they gave, some of the alternate marks?
Yes, I did. There was like Mohawk, Mark, or I don't know. There's some funny.
So I have 4 written here that I liked. So my favorite, I think, was No Gogglesible, which is the Invincible without goggles.
Yeah, No Gogglesible.
The Mohawk one, I think, was called Movincahawk, which is pretty funny.
There you go, Movincahawk. Yeah.
And then there was Omnivincible, the one that looked like Omni-Man. And then probably my second favorite is Cape Vincible, the Invincible with a cape.
Yeah, those were fun. I didn't notice that when I watched subtitles because it's something you wouldn't notice if you didn't watch a subtitle.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Because I don't think they said it, did they?
No,
like in the episode,
they did not.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been a season finale.
It kind of felt like it. Yeah,
I had to look. I looked while I was watching it. I had to look. Like, is this the final episode? Because like there was so much happening.
Yeah.
Also, so what's up with Angstrom went back to those?
Yes. His
surgeon things, and they pretty much said, if you want us to repair you, you're gonna work for us now. I wonder what that's gonna be about. Like, what's that gonna bring to the table?
Probably not a good idea screwing over the guys you have set up to save your life.
So what's their agenda?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Like, is that gonna affect Mark and our world we're watching? Or
probably.
Do they even care about that?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting because that brings back to the point we were mentioning earlier with Oliver. Was he still gonna kill Angstrom even with Oliver there?
I think he was. Yeah, he tried to.
I think he was too.
Yep. Because he knew.
Well, like you could tell he was more hesitant though.
Yeah.
Because when Oliver came there, you could pause for a minute. He's like, God, this kid's screaming to kill him, and
I think he knew there was no other way to stop him. Like, and make sure he doesn't come back.
Said you give him no other choice. But I could tell. I feel like there was a second where he felt sad because he didn't like his brother was there, like
Yeah.
having to watch this and him screaming, "Kill him!" It's like, and then of course the villain in the last episode showed up at the end.
Yes, Conquest, which I think I saw
Conquest.
is voiced by Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Is it really? I didn't notice that.
Let me just double check, but I saw that. Yeah, it is Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
I don't know. He showed up right at the end. I'm like, geez.
Yeah.
Like, right now?
He looks so
Even
intimidating.
Mark's like, this is not a good time. He does. Like, he had like what? Like a hammer hand type thing.
Oh, but man, Mark's remark, haha, is like, this is not a good time. You showed up right now. All I want to do is hit something as hard as I can. And that's where it ends. I'm like, oh, I want to see that right now.
I know. Please let us see that fight and don't skip.
Yeah.
They can't.
No,
they have to show us.
It's the finale. They have to show us that.
Yeah. And like his dad and
Alan.
what's his face? And Alan are going to show up, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I think. Yep.
They have to. And seeing those three fight, I hope we see those three fight him.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
I hope so too. That would be a great finale.
Yes, God. But the thing is too is like it's gonna be interesting because like the city's already kind of destroyed. So is Mark gonna try to be more careful? Like now that he's seen what it does to the everyday people?
Yeah, I don't know if he has a choice. Maybe he'll try and take it somewhere that's not a city or something.
I'm curious if they address that because like there's just a whole episode dedicated on what it did to the city. But like you said, maybe. You might not have a choice, but
oh, I'm so
kind of
excited.
reminds me it's very Superman-y, right? Like they address that in Superman.
It reminded me of Man of Steel. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah. I'll say this. This got me pumped for the finale.
Yes.
I didn't even realize it was gonna be the finale already. I'm like, no, I want more.
Yeah.
So good. But yeah, this season we're being spoiled. Our few shows we're watching right now, I feel like I'm giving out 9s and 10s more than we ever have.
I know. Seriously, we are spoiled.
I know. Like, jeez. Oh, so good.
Yes.
But yeah, that's all I got on Invincible. I can't wait for the finale.
Yep. We'll just have the finale to talk about next week for that. So
Yep.
we'll spend a lot of time talking about it.
Oh, I can't wait.